What's up, guys, and welcome back for another solo mining episode. Episode 131, we're going to be looking at the Nocxite deposit. Pretty much up to this point, we've been looking at a lot of the trit and like mostly the isogen deposits. So we're going to start kind of covering all the bases and kind of showing you what all these look like. Now, we're not going to be doing like a crazy mining session with this one. More or less, it's just be kind of like to cover kind of what's there and kind of what you can expect to kind of focus on. But I'll go out there and fill the prospect up, and then we'll kind of take it back and see what a prospect load of Nocxite gets us as far as Noxium is concerned. So just kind of like look at it a little bit. You want to kind of look in the agency before you kind of just start flying around. But as you see right here, in this system over here, we have a large Nocxite deposit. Now these are going to have Crocite. We're going to go and bring some of these things up here. So we're going to have Crocite over here, and then we have dark ochre here as well. And then we also have head, and then we also have the Nocxite. Nocxite's going to have several variants out there as well. And then I usually just mine the higher variant for whatever material I'm actually focusing on. But depending on what you kind of need, you can kind of, pick and choose what you want. Now, not always going to be available when you go out there. Some of them are in lower quantity than others, but I would say prioritize. Let's go and look at priority here. I would say if you get to a fresh belt or a fresh deposit, I would say dark ochre is probably your biggest focus. Now, what you need to realize too with all this stuff is they have different volumes. So let's go ahead and line all these up a little bit. We'll go to attributes here. So you can see dark ochre is 8,000 cubic meters per unit. And then you have Crocite, which is 16, which is actually double that. Put that over on this side. And then you have Nocxite, which is at 4,000. And then you have head, which is 3,000. But now if we actually go to the industry tab for all of these, you can see the Noxium component here. 120 here, 105 here, 320 on dark ochre. Good isogen right there, though. This is probably going to be your biggest priority. There's not going to be a whole lot of this on the deposit. And then Crocite is nice as well, too. It's got 800. Here's the thing, though. This might only have 220 units of Noxium in it, but it weighs, or its volume is a lot less than all the other things in this. So not necessarily a bad thing either. There's going to be the most that you're going to have out there is Nocxite in all of the different components or the other different variants for it. So when you go out there, I would kill all the dark ochre and then the Crocite. I'd probably save Nocxite actually for last. But in some cases, I've been to deposits where like most of all the other stuff is gone. And so I'm just out there trying to get Nocxite and everything. But the idea is to try to come back with as much Noxium post-refine as possible. Now, if you have like compression in the system, that's great. You can kind of just do multiple runs. But let's go ahead and actually get onto the belt and kind of see how things go. We'll end this video by getting to the refinery and kind of seeing what the prospect is kind of good for. The other thing too here I'll note is you're probably going to need like two different types of crystals if you're using crystals. So you have coherent. You use coherent for your Nocxite itself, but then variegated is going to be what you're going to need to use for Crocite, dark ochre, and things like that. So you kind of have to like, I pretty much just like, pull or grab, take everything I can with me. The coherent will be like 2 to 3, but for that dark ochre, you're going to need to use variegated on that. All right, we're out here on the anomaly or deposit, whatever you want to call it. So the availability out here is not great. We didn't have any like dark ochre, which is what I was kind of looking for, but that's fine. I have there's only 3 types of Nocxite out here as well too. In Nocxite, fragment, and intoxicating. You have regular Nocxite is going to be your 105 Noxium, but we're going to be going for intoxicated. It's just a higher one. It's got 115 or 116. Sorry. So the plan hole here is just going to be to fill up as much as we can. We just want to like fill up the prospect so that we can take it back, refine it, and we can get a rough idea what our Noxium yield will be. That way we can kind of do math on that and say, okay, if we need this much Noxium, Then we can go out and do a certain number of runs. I'm using coherent crystals here. We're getting about 10.3 cubic meters a second for each, so 20.6. I actually made this a yield stick, so we got all mining laser 2 in the lows. But in order to make that work, you have to basically have overclocker processors 1s in the rig slots. But that allows us to come out here and just kind of fill up as fast as we can. This system does have a Tatara in it. It does have compression, which is nice. So in the future, what I'll do for mining runs is I'll come out here and just do multiple runs. I think I'm also probably going to start taking my my porpoise with me, so we can actually have the porpoise boosting the prospect, and then we can kind of just dump that compressed ore into the porpoise, because the porpoise can also have a cloak, so we can kind of just cloak in place with that guy as well. So every time we fill up, the prospect will go near the porpoise and empty out, and all that stuff. It doesn't really work with ice because we don't get an ice processor on the porpoise, but it will work for ore. So we'll be and the siege cycle on a porpoise is pretty low. And if you don't actually want to siege up, then you can actually just dump the uncompressed into the porpoise as well, which works just as fine. Then you could actually come out here and not really drop lasers and kind of get 60,000+, about 70,000 probably cubic meters of ore before you really have to do anything. And also, if you have inert stabilizers on your porpoise, actually, you could you could actually, and I've done this before too, where you can just turn off boost right after you apply boost, and then when your weapon timer empties, you can actually go and dump the porpoise, empty the porpoise out completely, and make it back and turn boost back on, usually before the bursts kind of expire on your mining ship. It can be a little tedious, not necessarily too horribly worth it, but with all that being said, I'm I thought I actually sold. I talked about this on live stream. I thought I actually sold my my porpoise, but I was looking at my corp hanger today when I was setting up and redoing this fit for the Sinoult here, and I saw my porpoise is still fitted in there, so I guess I didn't get rid of it, so that's nice. I don't have to wait on shipping it back out or anything. Now, obviously, you have to use deep core lasers on your expedition frigate. That's how you use crystals. So if we came out here and there was dark ochre or something like that, then we would have to go to the integrated, whatever you call them, crystals. But everything else that would spawn here on this anomaly can be done with coherent. So that's good to go. But we're just going to fill up here and then pretty much just kind of see how it looks for yield. I'm going to start working this into my rotation as well. Normally my rotation for the week includes doing Grimier, that's Isogen, Pyrite, Mexilon, and then going and do Calixium, which is your Pyrite, Mexilon, Trit, and then coming out here and actually doing some of these can get us some Noxium as well as some Pyrite and Trit. Dark Ochre would be the best thing to grab here, especially since we have access to compression. That's going to, we could find enough of these and do this enough on the Nocxite deposit. We could probably not have to worry about Grimier at all, because we could just get Dark Ochre. That would handle our Isogen, and then all we have to do is kind of hit Nocxite, Calixium, and all that. But also we have to start doing the other stuff too to get Zydrine and Megasite and all those things. There's actually another trick you can do out here in Nullsec too, if you really want to just kind of do something else other than mining and still get some materials. You can just go ratting. I usually go do rally points or something, and then just follow behind my Tengu or whatever with a Noxus or something with a bunch of tractor beams and a MTU or whatever, and just salvage all the wrecks. And then you take all that scrap metal, you get scrap metal processing as a skill, and you can just refine that scrap metal into, or even just the modules and the loot and all the crap that comes off of rats, and get not much, but a little bit of a spread on all that material as well too. But it can be, if you're not kind of set up for that, then that can be just kind of maybe, not too convenient. But I think that what I want this series, more the recent episodes of the series, to kind of showcase is how versatile nullsec is now in terms of like the materials that we can get and everything, because it's just absolutely great. I mean, there was a time where living in nullsec, we still had to have high sec alt doing our trit and some of that stuff, compressing it and then shipping it out ourselves with jump raiders, or paying a freight service to bring it out so we could do manufacturing. Same was with whenever our moon drills or stuff were operating in high sec, we had to ship moon goo around. But now we have all these anomalies we can tap into for trit, tap in for all the materials. We got the Minonox moon drills that allow us to get that moon goo kind of passively, and it's really, really nice. Now, I don't personally have access to a Minonox moon drill. That's an alliance level thing, but I think that after we kind of get done covering all the new anomalies and ores and stuff like that, we'll be focusing a little bit on moon mining as well too, because we will want to do some reactions and stuff, and you really need some of that moon goo to do all that stuff. And we'll also start focusing on gas mining as well, gas huffing, which I'll include gas mining in this series as well. But for sustainable gas mining, we need to be doing wormhole stuff. So whenever we see a wormhole, we'll pop in, see if there's gas. We'll take a ship and do our thing. In a lot of the reasons I don't do a lot of gas mining anymore is because when I do manufacturing that requires gas, it's almost always easier and more convenient just to import the compressed gas I need, rather than go out and hunt for it and end up getting low quantities, or just having really bad luck with the wormholes and stuff like that. Or we still get gas in certain nullsec systems in certain constellations, but they can be few and far between for the most part, and that's just something you have to kind of keep in mind. When we start talking about high level manufacturing, you kind of need access to a little bit of everything, all the different types of ice for all the isotopes, so you can make all the fuel blocks and do all the reactions. You have to have all the gas so you can do all the propulsion parts that go into shipbuilding, all of the different ores, so you have all the different materials. Nocxite, so you have access to morphite. Morphite plays a real huge part in manufacturing Tech 2 stuff and everything. That's it's very important to just kind of be well versed in kind of the entirety of industry, mining, and all that. Especially, we might start kind of working on getting back into capital ship construction, depending on how it all goes. But we're almost done here. Actually, we can probably in a quarter cycle here, we can cut lasers and be good to go. Normally what I'll do here is, once I fill up, I'll just immediately cloak in place, because it is a prospect we can warp off with the cloak. It's just kind of best practice. So I'm just going to wait a little bit, and then we're going to just cut the lasers and fill up, and then we'll cloak up and get out of here. Normally I would just go to the Tashara and compress, and then come right back out on a bookmark and just pick it up where we were going. But for the purpose of this video, we are just going to take this full prospect, go back, refine it, and just kind of see how we did and all of that. I'm not really focusing on ISK value. We're more or less focused on repross quantity, because then we can use those numbers and kind of figure out how many runs we would take to do certain types of manufacturing jobs that require Noxium. But we're filled up. We're going to cloak up and go ahead and head out. All right, we're docking up, so we're going to go ahead and get this stuff in the corp hangar. We ended up getting we got 3,125 intoxicating Nocxite, and that filled up the prospect completely. All right, we'll come over here on the main. This is the one I usually do all my reprocessing on. And I always just try to refine on the same tune because it has the most on here. So I got about 79.6% on this tune, and we're going to be getting in about 2,862 Noxium, a little bit of trade and pyrite. Not bad for a single run. We'll go ahead and reprocess all that so we can kind of take that stuff over to the engineering complex. So normally I wouldn't just go out there for one prospect load and then call it a day. I would do it, especially if I have compression and stuff out there. I'll do like multiple runs as long as it's not busy. I'll try to do like 10 runs or so with the prospect and just come back with a lot of compressed ore and everything. That's kind of the way to go. But that's what you need to be looking for if you're looking for Noxium. Well, we're going to try to cover Zydrine and all the other stuff too as well, just so if you're watching this series and you get into like nullsec, you are kind of introduced, or you have sort of like a base knowledge of what you should be looking for different types of manufacturing. I usually just kind of stockpile everything, and even if I don't need it necessarily, obviously the stuff I need, I do a little bit more mining for that. But other than that, that's gonna be it for this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to get notified for new EVE Online content. Look at the Patreon page for exclusive content over there. Check out the Twitch stream for daily EVE live streams and all that good stuff. And I will see you in the next one.